This is Black Fan Radio, media for the 21st century.
Only for the money, bitch, I get the bag. Flip up on a runner, check, you know I flip the rags. Bag of 50, bag of 100, I just skip the class. Fuck the school report, these niggas put me last in class, yeah. Fuck the school report, these niggas put me last in class, yeah. Fuck the school report, these niggas put me last in class,
Where
yeah.
were you? Boy, you been sleeping. Where were you when I had nothing but dream? Where were you when the dream settled inside me? Where were you when I couldn't see the mission? Where were you? Where were you?
Gucci on the floor, ice with a flow, icy with a cold. On another level, touchdown second heaven. Wide Obama blessings, I'm feeling change the settings. Ain't no one better than me. Niggas still work for lessons. Just sucking, fucking sucking. Funny how this bitch is fetish. Number one, I got the spot. They mad cause I never stop. Fuck luck, I put in work before not to be on top. White shoes, yellow vest, black pants, yellow bush. It was all a dream, now the dreamer coming up in the first place, nigga. I pay my dues. These niggas only hate cause they can't feel in the shoes. I'm talking real life, stepping out, stealing gym and shoes. Will you faggots trying to fool? Why I hit you with a tool? Nigga, I'm gangsta, but I still got juice. Nigga, ain't nobody fucking around my hood. Nigga, it's 2020, buddy, back in season, so you better have a visit.
Hey, Hamjambo family here. Welcome to the Blackout Fan Network 54 corresponding show. It has indeed been a minute since the last time we did the Blackout Fan Network 54 correspondents. But nonetheless, I want to welcome each and every one of us to this wonderful episode where we get to have a virtual journey across the beautiful continent of Africa. You know, when you are on the Blackout Fan Network 54 corresponding show, you are able to find out what's going on in different parts of the African continent, from South Africa, North of Africa, West Africa, East Africa. And we are coming direct, live and direct from Nairobi studios, representing for the biggest city in East Africa, or the busiest rather city in East Africa. If you're looking towards, maybe setting up a business in the East African region, Nairobi, of course, has been the preference, or has been the city of choice for many people who have decided really to look east on the continent and decide maybe they would like to set up a shop in East Africa. Nairobi is seen to be the gateway. We also do have other contenders such as Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And of course, Addis, we do have the biggest airport in that particular country, the busiest airport in Ethiopia as well, Addis Ababa. There are so many interesting things also to talk about other areas of Africa. For example, in North Africa, Egypt, if you are looking to find out a little bit about the history and the heritage of the African people, you would actually go to ancient Kemet, or what you know today as Egypt, and you can be able to find out what was going on with the African people in the Nile Valley, in the years past. And in that particular area, you might also find some interesting finds. I believe right here on the Blackout Fan Network, on subsequent, on previous shows, we have talked about a little bit of African history, and we get to talk about diverse matters, not just about history. We also get to engage in matters of social, economic, and political affairs on the African continent. This particular year has been relatively busy, if I might call it so. We have seen elections are taking place in various places. We have seen, for example, an election that did take place earlier on this year in Tanzania. And we shall also be letting you know about other countries that are expected to go into the polls later this year. What you get to realize in the African continent is that when countries are very, very close to going to the polls, there is a lot of stagnation, even with the economy and everything else. You do find that things come close to a standstill. And you do find this is because in most countries there has been the division of people, and especially when it comes to the political year, when it comes to the campaign year, you do find many people getting disrupted, businesses getting disrupted, and education getting disrupted, and other different facets of life getting disrupted, because at the end of the day, people are getting, are trying to get into power. Others are actually trying to stay in power, and that is a kind of a situation we do have right here on the African content. Nonetheless, if you are joining us for the very first time, like I said, this is a show that is meant to show you the correct view, or the correct, to show you the correct depiction, or the clear depiction of the continent of Africa. On many other different platforms, you have heard stories about Africa. Most of them are just far-fetched. Others are really not even close to reality. But on this particular platform, we purpose that we might be able to show you a little bit a different image of the continent of Africa. We share not just the negatives. We also purpose to share a little bit on the positive. To start us off, I wanted to share with us a little bit of some proverbs that are coming all the way from Senegal. And now, of course, it's very, very important to realize that Senegal is a beautiful West African country, which is considered to be one of the most stable. In West Africa, like we shall be discussing today, we realize that in West Africa, many nations are really not stable. There is a lot of, internal fighting, and sometimes also external, coming from the influence or the attack of the Islamic militants from neighboring countries. But Senegal is relatively stable. Of course, things are not, it's a smooth sailing. We do have the capital city known as Dakar, but things are really not smooth sailing. But nonetheless, you can see it as a beacon of hope for West African countries that would like to emulate or go the same way that Senegal has been going. There are some common Senegalese proverbs. I wanted to start off the show with this. Number one is that there cannot be peace. They cannot be peace without understanding. And of course, this is self-explanatory. You cannot have peace anywhere in the world if we do not have understanding. And I believe most of the time, people are very, very eager to misunderstand each other. For example, when it comes to the leaders, the political leaders in these particular countries in West Africa that we shall be talking about today, you happen to realize that there is a lot of misunderstanding and even misguided agendas and priorities for the side of these particular leaders. In West Africa, we do have most of the countries in West Africa being former French colonies, and we are talking about countries such as Mali and even in Senegal, and therefore most of these countries are also French-speaking countries. And if you compare the kind of a development in these areas to maybe other countries that were not former French colonies, you would realize that there is a very, very big kind of a gap, when it comes to development matters, and also not just economic development, but even socio-economic development. You realize that most of these countries in West Africa are really, really lagging behind. If you recollect, or if you recall, when you talk about some of these countries in West Africa, such as Mali, you realize that Mali has a rich history, and the heritage is really, really rich in terms of even their history, in terms of, for example, the education. You realize that in Mali, there was what we did call Timbuktu. And what did happen is that this particular area was the first in the world, really, was the first in the world where we did have the making of colleges. We did have the area being the first in the world to have colleges. But nonetheless, some people right now it has actually faded to the background. The history and the heritage has somewhat faded to the background, and we do not really have it as being as vibrant as it was so many years ago. Right now, most of the places in Mali have actually been rocked by instability, and they have also been rocked by the Apologies, our family. We are back. We had a bit of a hit right there with the connectivity. I went down. But nonetheless, I was talking about the matter of Mali before we did have the French invasion. And even when you look at the heritage of the beautiful West African country, you realize that they did not need any kind of an assistance because they were doing well off even before this particular kind of taking over by the Europeans. Of course, I want to share with us briefly a little bit about some of the history that has to do with the Mali people. And this is, with the heritage of the Timbuktu. The Timbuktu, like I said, was one of the places where we did have the colleges. There was the colleges, and this is a little bit about Timbuktu. Let me just put a disclaimer first. I don't want to get the channel into a bit of a problem. Let me put on a disclaimer here first. And we are talking a little bit about Mali. And of course, I wanted to give a contrast between what used to be and what is now in this West African region. It's a little bit of the Mali Timbuktu and the festival in the desert. You realize that in West Africa, the river Niger is a lifeline of this area. It actually crosses many countries, and it's a lifeline. If you go to Nigeria, if you go to Niger, it has actually given so many people a source of livelihoods, and it's a very, very big river in West Africa. As you can see, most of the areas are near the rivers are really, good for farming. Some of the places you can actually grow food in, it's plenty. But you do find there is a lot of disruption of peace, and people are not even able to harvest whatever they had planted. And this is a problem that you do have in the area in West Africa, Mali. For the communities that are really not farmers, the other community are really pastoralists. They do have their cattle and move around from one area into another looking for pastures. These are some of them. I believe the Fulanis, you have heard about the Fulani in West Africa.
Timbuktu is laid legendarisch geworden sinds het jaar 1324, toen islamitisch heerser Mansa Musa tijdens zijn pelgrimage naar Mekka in Cairo zoveel goud op de markt bracht dat de wereldgoudprijs kelderde. Sinds deze spraakmakende gebeurtenis schreef men Timbuktu ongekende rijkdom toe. Na zijn terugkomst in Timbuktu bouwde Mansa Musa in 1327 deze moskee van Djingari Ber. De invloed uit Cairo zou Malinese minaretten hun piramidevorm hebben gegeven. Timbuktu bleef door ziektes en onveiligheid onbereikbaar voor Europeanen, totdat in 1828 als eerste blanke René Caillé eruit terugkeerde.
That is a little bit of what Timbuktu really looks like. And as you heard, the place was renowned because of the ruler Mansa Musa. And what you get to realize that the history, they have fallen so far off from the rich cultural, from the rich history that they did have. And of course, Mansa Musa, when he did leave his own nation, he went to Mecca and he passed through Egypt. And he almost, he caused a lot of inflation in Egypt, almost sinking the economy. What is also a known fact is that the brother, he did leave. There was also the brother who he took over from, and the brother also went on an exploration. And they are saying that the Europeans are not able to come back into Mali in this particular area of West Africa in around 1838. And therefore, it means what was happening in Mali is that people are living okay. I believe when there was a development of these Timbuktu colleges, I believe the people are living fine and not like depicted in other different places where you're told the people are dying of hunger and other such like things. But nonetheless, today I wanted to talk about what has been happening with the West Africa and the kind of control that French has had over West Africa. You do realize that Chad, recently there was the dying, the passing on of the president of Chad, Idris Deby. His name was Idris Deby. And of course, what did happen is that there was a response also coming from the president of the president of France, saying that at the very first point he was signaling to the fact that he wants to support the military rule, because after the president passed on, the military, the junta, we call them the junta in West Africa. The junta did take over, and there was also the signaling of the son of Idris Deby, to have been said to be the one to lead this particular army, or to lead the military, to lead the military in terms of controlling the country known as the Chad. Chad is not one of the countries known for for positive things. There's a very, very big negative image of the country known as Chad. Even if you look at the global stage or the African stage, when we're talking about maybe development or leadership or talking about positive stories, we have not had many positive stories are coming from Chad in a long time. One of the things you happen to realize is that Chad is very, very dry. And let me show you, what Chad looks like. These are images of Chad on the map of Africa. And as you can see from these particular images, as you can see, this is a country that we are talking about, which borders Sudan. It also borders Libya. It also borders Niger. It also borders Nigeria. It also borders Cameroon, and it borders the Central African Republic. So it's in the Central West. It's in the West, but it's somewhere almost there in the middle. And if you look at the kind of a control or the kind of an environment that maybe is in the other neighboring countries, for example, Sudan, if there's spilling over of war in Sudan, you will find these particular people moving into Chad because they share the border. If there is a war happening in the Central African Republic, you will find also the spillover of this particular one into Chad. If there is the same happening in Cameroon, you will find the spillover and people moving into either Chad. And in this particular region, as you see it on the map, you realize that there has been a lot of internal conflicts and also external attacks coming from the outside by the Islamic militants. The capital city is known as the Jamena, and there has been so many protests going on. Was it yesterday or the day before? I believe. On Monday, yes, on Monday and Tuesday, there were protests going on in this particular country, and then the French president did stand and saying that they do not really support the treatment of the protesters in this country. But there is also a change of a tone because at the start, the French president had signaled the support of the son of the former president Idris Deby taking over the country, and I realized that because of the instability in these particular areas, you realize that people, the kind of lives people are living in Chad is nothing to be envied. You cannot really envy the kind of a life that people are living in Chad simply because they have been denied peace. And like we said, I think peace is a core. You cannot have any kind of a development without peace. And one of the things that has happened in this area is that because of a poor leadership and because of these internal conflicts and external attacks, there has not been any kind of a development even when it comes to roads or schools or hospitals. All these different sectors, you will find them actually just there because you might go ahead and try develop schools. The next thing, the schools have been blown up. You might go and try develop hospitals. The next thing, the hospitals have been blown up. In this particular country known as Chad, people are much more concerned about their safety and dying from Islamic attacks than they are concerned about anything else. Anyone anywhere else in the world, people are saying, "Oh, we do have the COVID-19, all these other things," but people in Chad really are not, they are not really interested in knowing what is happening with the COVID-19 or the global pandemic. The people of Chad have been in under one particular regime that have actually oppressed them so much that all they care about is daily survival. And these are kind of a leadership that you have. And the biggest problem in West Africa when it comes to all these countries that were colonized by the French, the biggest problem they face is poor leadership. And most of these leaders are actually just puppets of the West. Look at the former president Idris Deby. Go into the neighboring country. Look at Cameroon as well, where we do have Paul Biya. Paul Biya has also been in power for over 35 years. Now, I think it's close to 40 years now. He has been in power close to 40 years, close to 4 decades. If you go to Niger, in Niger is the same kind of a situation where we do have a country that has lots and lots of minerals, but nonetheless, the people in that particular country are not really even able to enjoy any of these minerals that you do have on the ground. And I want to share with us some of the things that you can find in West Africa, some of the minerals that you will find in West Africa. Most West African countries, for example, in Nigeria does have, of course, one of the largest producers of oil. Of course, Nigeria was not a French colony, but some of the countries in West Africa include the minerals in West Africa include gold. They also include iron ore. Some of the minerals also include diamonds. They also include bauxite. They also include phosphate. They also include uranium. For example, Niger has some of the world's largest deposits of uranium. And of course, if you're talking about uranium, it means that most of this uranium goes. They do not use it. They do not use it, but most of this uranium goes into other countries such as France. You guessed it right. They actually go into France. And because of the lack of a production in these particular countries, they only have the extraction industries. Those are the kind of the extraction sector is big, but when it comes to processing and manufacturing, most of these countries have been kept in poverty because what you do is really get minerals from the ground. You fetch very, very low prices for these particular products, and then you export them. They are taken into Europe through France, and then France, distributes them into other different European countries, and then France gets, the big money from these minerals are coming from the West African countries. I said Niger has uranium. Other neighboring countries do have the diamonds, the bauxite, the phosphates, and among other the iron ore. But all these countries, because of the instability, you cannot find any country being actively involved in the development of the manufacturing or the processing sector. What happens is that really people manufacturing or buying lots and lots of products from Europe and also from the East, simply because for them in their own countries, they are really not able to they're really not able to process these particular products, and even the prices that they do fetch are really poor, poor commodities, or poor prices for these commodities that they are getting sell. I will share with you a little bit of the Jamena. And like I said, there has been many attacks that have come up, and these are some things that perhaps you might not even have known about the capital city of the country, which is now known as Chad. If you look at even the capital city also has nothing really much to show. You might not really have much to show from Chad, but nonetheless, like I said, this is a place that has minerals in the whole of West Africa at large.
Explorers, welcome to another exciting video presented to you by Displo, and thanks for watching. In this video, we shall be looking at the top 10 things you probably didn't know about Chad. Chad is a landlocked country in North Central Africa, bordered by Libya to the north, Sudan to the east, the Central African Republic to the south, Cameroon to the southwest, Nigeria to the southwest, and Niger to the west. Chad has several regions, a desert zone in the north, an arid Sahelian belt in the center, and a more fertile Sudanian savanna zone in the south. Lake Chad, after which the country is named, is the largest wetland in Chad and the second largest in Africa. The capital, N'Djamena, is the largest city. Official languages are Arabic and French, but Chad is home to over 200 different ethnic and linguistic groups. Chad remains plagued by political violence and recurrent attempted coups d'etat. Chad is one of the poorest and most corrupt countries in the world. Most inhabitants live in poverty as subsistence herders and farmers. Since 2003, crude oil has become the country's primary source of export earnings, superseding the traditional cotton industry. Chad also has a poor human rights record with frequent abuses such as arbitrary imprisonment, extrajudicial killings, and limits on civil liberties by both security forces and armed militias. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. Here are the top 10 things you probably didn't know about Chad. Number 1. Chad is named after its most popular lake, Lake Chad. Lake Chad used to be the 7th largest lake in the world and the 4th largest in Africa. However, due to advanced desertification and low rainfall, it has shrunk to less than 10% of its former size and volume. Lake Chad is, however, the largest lake in the Chad Basin. The freshwater lake that touches the base with Nigeria, Cameroon, and Niger is where the country got its name. Number 2. Crude oil is its economy's engine. The oil-rich nation was first known for its cotton, which brought significant wealth to the nation before the discovery of oil in 2003. The first oil pipeline runs through Cameroon, connecting the Douda Basin to the port of Kribi, producing 94,000 barrels of crude oil daily. Chad's energy sector has had years of mismanagement by the parastatal Chad Water and Electric Society, which provides power for 15% of the capital citizens and covers only 1.5% of the national population. Most Chadians burn biomass fuels such as wood and animal manure for power, which is such a pity for a country rich enough to more than provide energy for its citizens. Hopefully, the Inga Dam project will spin the energy fate of the country around. Number 3. Chad is the 5th largest country in Africa. Chad is in North Central Africa, and even though most of the country is covered by deserts, Chad is the 5th largest country in Africa after Algeria, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Sudan, and Libya, respectively. Chad is also the largest landlocked country in Africa, with a land area of 1,284,000 square kilometers, making Chad the world's 20th largest country. It is slightly smaller than Peru and slightly larger than South Africa. Number 4. The Dead Heart of Africa. Chad is sometimes referred to as the Dead Heart of Africa because majority of the country's area is categorized as desert. The Saharan Desert region covers approximately the northern third of Chad. But the irony of the country is that despite its desert nature, if you wish to visit a beach, you can. Chad does not flirt with the ocean, and the nearest seaport, Douala in Cameroon, is some 660 miles to the southwest. But if you feel like a straw on the sand, you can have it in the capital, N'Djamena, which has a long beach on the Chari. Number 5. Chad has untapped gold and uranium reserve. Despite the country's predicament, Chad is blessed with gold and uranium reserves, but with inadequate attention given to the sector, these resources remain untapped. Chad was recently ranked bottom in the world for the ease of doing business by the International Finance Corporation, and this could make it difficult for the country to fully utilize its resources. But this could also be a positive because these natural resources should be left to rest until the country is ready to exploit it, rather than bring in raw material hungry business partners who will do the same thing that has happened to its oil. Number 6. Visiting is not for the faint-hearted. Travel to Chad is highly advised against, and only those who are extremely brave take the risk. The Foreign and Commonwealth Office does not approve.
You can see this is not a really a go-to area for tourists. It's not one of the top tourist destinations on the continent of Africa. And many countries in Africa have made some money from tourism, but I think Chad is one of the countries that are lagging behind.
Going to Chad, as the security map of the country is entirely colored in red, which implies advice against all travel, and yellow, which stands for advice against all but essential travel. They advise you take professional security with you when thinking of visiting the country and should follow your employer's security advice and make sure the correct Chadian authorities are aware of your journey. You have in place the right permits if required, and you hold comprehensive travel insurance. Number 7. It has a shape-shifting lake. Well, now that we have established the rule of thumb, for those who are brave and decide to visit, wonders and environmental miracles await you in Chad, and one of them is the shape-shifting Lake of Chad. Lake Chad is sometimes regarded as a large lake, but at other times not so much so. Pinned to the west edge of the country, it spills over the borders into Cameroon, Niger, and Nigeria, making it a multinational proposition. It has been known to shrink and grow according to weather conditions and has appeared to have lost as much as 95% of its surface area during the last 25 years, between 1963 and 1998, although it has expanded again in the last 2 decades. Its soil is provided by the river Chari, which begins in the highlands of the Central African Republic and flows northwest across Chad before pouring into the lake. If you think that is a wonder, hey, we are just starting the tour. Number 8. Chad is a hiker's paradise. If you're a fan of heights, just head far north of Chad where you find a place where the Sahara Desert reaches for the heavens. The Tibesti Mountains is the reason you see the gorgeous vision as it sprawls across the border into Libya. But the magic still lies in Chad in the form of Emi Koussi, a shield volcano that rears to 3,445 miles, making it Sahara's rooftop. It's a hiker's paradise due to the high places, especially with the hikers' Chad challenges, like the 88 miles Energy Eternal Trail. But if not enough thrill for you, try the Emi Koussi, which is 108 miles long. Number 9. The country has rock wonders. Just east of Lake Chad is Hijja El Hamiz, where you can find 5 amazing rock formations that look like elephants, called Rocher des Éléphants. These rock formations can be viewed from both the sky or the ground, and that is not the only natural forming beauties of the country, as it also has an ancient city. In the town of Abéché, in the east of Chad, is the former ancient capital of the Wadai Empire. The capital has been deserted since the 19th century when its well ran dry. The ruins are now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and consist of a ruined palace, mosque, and city wall. Number 10. Rich in resources but poor Chad. The United Nations Human Development Index ranks Chad as the 7th poorest country in the world, with 80% of the population living below the poverty line. In the 1960s, the mining industry of Chad produced sodium carbonate, or natron, and there have been reports of gold-bearing quartz in the Bayton prefecture.
Rich in resources, but poor. I think that is a story of many African countries because of one of the things that has happened is that there has not been appropriate or good leadership. And then what happens that there is foreign investors. I will not call them investors, but they are people who want to come on and prey on the resources of Africa, because a country like Chad does not have manufacturing concerns, but they do have the extraction industry where they are just getting the minerals and selling them to the to other countries or the highest bidder, but are also fetching poor prices for the same whatsoever. But it's also important to also realize that there has been a long history of coups in West Africa. Chad is in the north central Africa. Let me just correct myself. It's in the north central Africa. But to me, it almost seems like to be very, very much closely connected to the countries that have been named. For example, Cameroon and Niger and Nigeria. These are West African countries. But nonetheless, apart from the military, the control of the military in these areas, another thing that has contributed largely to the confusion and the chaos is, like I said, the insurgents, the Islamic insurgents. And there was a time where there was the coming together of African leaders and African governments led by Nigeria to come and have one unified force. And this particular unified force, the goal was to really, put money together and, and actually address the matter of the Islamic insurgency in West Africa. But as it is till right now, there has not been proper coordination. I think every now and then you will hear attacks. For example, in Mali, there's a place known as a Mopti. Mopti is in central Mali, and the attacks are always there. If you go to Burkina Faso, the same thing. If you go to Niger, the same thing. Come back to Chad, it's the same thing, and it gets to a point it becomes tiring. But our question for the day is, what can be done to actually guarantee the people of West Africa freedom from the strong hand of the French? What can be done? First and foremost, I do believe that the African people need to unify in this particular area and have one common voice. France is one, and France, of course, has one voice. But then we do have these tiny these countries in West Africa. Some of them are tiny. For example, Gambia is tiny, and even Ivory Coast is not really that big. But we do need to have a unified voice. There was one particular unified voice that was speaking for the formation of one strong West African currency known as the ECOWAS. But we all know how that particular one ended. It did not really go so well. What happened is that eventually I think the people did abandon that particular project to have one unified currency. In this particular in this particular area, we do have the CFA franc. The CFA franc is a monetary system pegged onto the French monetary system, and therefore all the foreign reserves, most of the foreign reserves, are actually put in France for all these countries, and therefore you cannot really be independent if someone is holding, all your foreign reserves. You cannot really be independent simply because you only have to do what terms they put on the table, and that is what is happening for most of West African countries. Talk about Ivory Coast or Cote d'Ivoire. Talk about Niger, talk about Burkina Faso, talk about Mali, talk about Chad, and all these different countries that I was showing you earlier on in the map. Nonetheless, we shall take a short break and we shall come back and shall discuss some of the solutions and what can be done really to make sure that the people of West Africa are really able to, come together and have one particular voice, and this particular voice can help them really when it comes to matters, matters of freedom and having control over their own destiny, not just waiting on what the French has to give and what terms are to be laid out by the French. We shall take a break and then we shall be right back. This is a 54 Correspondence Show. And that is a beautiful song coming all the way from Rwanda. I think the Rwandese people are, really also talented. I do not know the actual name of that particular song, but it really also, has some soul. It has some deep soul in it. Nonetheless, this is a 54 corresponding show on the Black Hot Fire Network, and we are ascribing solutions as to how, the West African countries can become really independent from the French. There was one particular leader, which was the last year. These are the Ghanaian president. The Ghanaian president is known as Kofu Addo. And there was a time where the president of France almost grabbed the microphone from him because he was actually demanding that the French also get to return, bring back the stolen resources from Africa, which will not be happening. But nonetheless, let me share briefly on that particular video, and then we shall continue on maybe how these West African countries can become really independent.
Welcome to Candid Africa, truthful and unapologetic.
I think that the things that have brought us here today tell us a lot about the development of our continent of Africa. I'm beginning by saying that the place of the diaspora, the status of people in the diaspora, of the African diaspora, is intimately linked with what happens on the continent. An Africa strong and performing transforms your position and your status here in Europe. But an Africa which continues to live the narrative of poverty, hungry children, people going across the Sahara, going in rickety boats and dying in Lampedusa to get to Europe. That Africa is not a narrative that is going to help you over here. So I think between you and us, our main task is the transformation of the continent. And why do I say so? Just one simple example. The Chinese diaspora is supposed to be some 16 million people. And in the table of states, they constitute the 25th country in the world. They're saying that of the 52 billion foreign investment that went into China in the 80s and 90s that transformed China into what it is today, the manufacturing hub of the world. 50% of that, 26%, came from the Chinese overseas community. And that development of China that has taken place has changed the status and the position of Chinese all over the world. So I want you to take those statistics very seriously, because that is the transformative connection that we want to make with the African diaspora. How to implicate it in the development of the continent. Once we change the narrative about Africa, and we can only do it ourselves, we have to get away from the idea that there's some Father Christmas somewhere who's going to come and develop our continent for us. There is no such Father Christmas. There is just us who are going to be able to develop our continent. So once that mentality is our mentality, that we have to do it ourselves, then our relations with other people become that much more structured and punctilious, if you like. Our relations with France, our relations with Europe. Our relations with Europe is a natural one. You look at the geography of the world, Africa and Europe are natural partners. It's just this small strip of water, the Mediterranean, that separates the two of us. So when you look at that, and you look also at the history that has gone on between Africa and Europe, that is a natural relationship and a natural alliance, but a relationship that has to be different from the relationship that we've had up to now. Why do I say so? That relationship has enriched Europe, but has not enriched Africa. So we need to change that dynamic. And we can only do it by ourselves taking the correct measures for our future.
Did you like or hate what you heard? Let us know in the comments below.
That is a little bit on what was being said, and all the kind of a relationship, all the encounters that they have been, the encounters that have actually enriched
Here is the
Europe.
latest African news update. France President Emmanuel Macron warns West African leaders to stop the growing anti-French sentiments in Africa. President Emmanuel Macron, during the NATO summit in London, demanded West African leaders to dismiss growing anti-French sentiments across the region if they wanted France's military aid to continue its operation against Islamic militants. When asked about the troops in Africa and the ever-growing anti-French sentiments in the continent, he had this to say: "I can't have French troops on the ground in the Sahel when there is ambiguity towards anti-French movements, and sometimes comments made by politicians and ministers. I want them," meaning leaders of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Chad, and Mauritania, to clarify and formalize their demands regarding France and the international community. Do they want our presence and do they need it? I want a clear answer to these questions.
That is a threat being made to these West African countries, and you can see there is a big sense of entitlement on what happens in Africa, and also a big sense of patronizing. If you ask me, I think there's a big sense of patronizing. That is the French president who was saying that they should need a clear answer from these West African leaders whether they want the boots on the ground. But the French, one of the things that I do get realized is that for most part of these Islamic militants and other different rebel groups, you do find some of them having a close link, and some of them even being funded by West sources from the West. And therefore, if you're talking about having the soldiers on the ground, first and foremost, is the same kind of Hungarian direct, where you put in place a problem so that you can come and you light a fire, and then come up very, very quickly saying that you're helping the people to put it out. And there's a kind of a situation has been happening with France in Africa for a very, very long time. But I do believe if West African leaders, the people in Mali, in Niger, in Nigeria, in Mali, Burkina Faso, would actually come up with one voice, they would actually be able to address a matter of, united we stand, and divided we fall. What happens is that most of these leaders want to be separated, and they want to see their own tiny countries as being independent of everything else that is happening in Africa. Whereas there's the same infiltration of the militants coming from, for example, Burkina Faso, getting into the neighboring countries, and it's a whole big problem going on right there. And nonetheless, let me share one more video of what did happen with one of the presidents, Kofi Addo, and what he had to tell the French president. What he had to tell the French president in that regard, and you will let me know what your thoughts are on the same. Samuel, thank you so much for joining us on the show. I hope that you are doing well. But West African leaders, I believe they have actually failed because of the same mistake of seeing themselves as a separate, and trying to do it on their own. Kid, I hope that you can hear me. Thank you so much for joining us on the show as well. Let me share this video about.
Can you hear me? Go ahead.
Welcome to
the Great
African Leadership Series, where we feature great inspirational speeches and quotes from African leaders.
I think that the things that have brought us here today tell us a lot about the development of our continent of Africa. I'm beginning by saying that the place of the diaspora, the status of people in the diaspora, of the African diaspora, is intimately linked with what happens on the continent. And Africa strong and performing transforms your position and your status here in Europe. But an Africa which continues to live the narrative of poverty, hungry children, people going across the Sahara, going in rickety boats and dying in Lampedusa to get to Europe. That Africa is not a narrative that is going to help you over here. So I think between you and us, our main task is the transformation of the continent. And why do I say so?
Please.
Just one simple example.
The
Chinese diaspora is supposed to be some 16 million people. And in the table of states that constitute the 25th country in the world. They're saying that of the 52 billion foreign investment that went into China in the 80s and 90s that transformed China into what it is today, the manufacturing hub of the world, 50% of that came from the Chinese overseas community. And that development of China that is taking place has changed the status and the position of Chinese all over the world. So I want you to take those statistics very seriously, because that is the transformative connection that we want to make with the African diaspora. How
the Chinese went on the bottom
to the continent. Once we change the narrative about Africa, and we can only do it ourselves, we have to get away from the idea that there's some Father Christmas going to come and develop our continent for us. There is no such Father Christmas. There's just us who are going to be able to develop our continent. So once that mentality is our mentality, then we have to do it ourselves. Then our relations with other people become that much more structured and punctilious, if you like. Our relations with France, our relations with Europe. Our relations with Europe is a natural one. You look at the geography of the world, Africa and Europe are natural partners. It's just this small strip of water in the Mediterranean that separates the two of us.
No, they're not.
So when you look also at the history
that
has gone on between Africa and Europe, that is a natural relationship and a natural alliance, but a relationship that has to be different from the relationship that we've had up to now. Why do I say so?
There ain't been a relationship, you dummy. You know it, John.
Has enriched you,
nice shit.
But has not enriched the figure. So we need to change that dynamic. And we can only do it
by Europe, but not the African.
Taking the correct measures for our future. So that's where my focus is. And that's why I'm very excited about the possibility of having this encounter, that we can all begin to speak the same language, the language of cooperation, the language of collaboration, but to a different end. It cannot be right that the continent that has allegedly the wealthiest resources of all the continents.
It ain't allegedly. Everybody know Africa's the richest continent. It ain't no allegedly nothing. It ain't no allegedly. It's a fact. It's not even allegedly. It's a fact. And everybody knows it's a fact. It's not nothing to do with allegedly. The French, the British, and the Chinese are not there because of some allegedly. Allegedly, it's the richest continent. It's a fact that it's the richest continent. Stupid. It always has been. It always will be. Go ahead, Spike. Go ahead.
And what happens is that, there are not really any manufacturing concerns. There is only the extraction industry. They extract the gold, they extract the oil, they extract it's just an extraction, a removal. Taking. There's nowhere to process this gold. There's nowhere to process this oil. There's nowhere to process this bauxite or phosphate or the iron ore and all these other things. That is what is lacking, and we will be.
That disconnect is not a good disconnect. We need to work to change that disconnect. So when we're then talking about the need for self-reliance, it is because particularly important is to recognize that we have the resources. We have the youngest population in the world. 25% of our population is under the age of 19. It's a huge amount of resource, of potential strength. And once we
on the planet too,
that's a problem.
We find the means to do the educating of this population and giving it. Then we are putting Africa on a path of very, very strong economic growth. We can replicate what has been done in Asia if, like them, we maintain the discipline and the correct analysis of what we need to do to move our continent forward. But really, if they've been able in Asia in a generation to transform the lives of hundreds of millions of Chinese, hundreds of millions of Indians. Why can we not replicate that same phenomenon on our continent? We can do it.
Because you're corrupt, dummy. In China, they kill you when they find you doing corrupt. China's corrupt, but no place is corrupt like Africa. So the thing that you think you're different, that's another thing. It's the same corruption all over Africa. It's like it's corruption on steroids. It's the stealing of resources. That's the little resources that you get from the Europeans. That's supposed to go back to the people. You don't. And you, Kofi Adada, all these nice words, you are a phony, a con man, and a criminal. I can just go and see that the French, with your ass, have obtained a port in Ghana. Why are the French got a port in Ghana? Kofi Adada Doodoo, where you're a silent partner in it. I do my research on you, goofball. I don't believe in the nice flowery words. Africans never, well, Spike knows how to reverse engineer people too now. Fine. I don't believe in none of the shit you say. I'm going to reverse you. You are corrupt as shit. You're corrupt. It's all the nice flowery words, all the friends, blah, 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 blah.
In Switzerland, he was also speaking to Switzerland. He was also speaking to Switzerland. The last time I shared on the video, he was also speaking to Switzerland. But I don't know if he have affected that particular rule. He was saying they will not be exporting any more cocoa. I don't know if it has started. I will be checking to see if it was just flowery words, or if at all they stopped exporting the cocoa to Switzerland. They say they are making their own factories. I do not know whether they have done so or that was just a talking. They might have. Maybe it's just talking.
The funny part about it, that's why he didn't win re-election overwhelmingly in Ghana. Probably almost lost it, really. The CIA helped him. That's why he almost lost, because even the Ghanaians didn't know he's full of shit. Those flowery words, other Africans here, other Africans, educationally are not very smart. They're not been taught to critically think and reverse engineer. They look at the optics of this. Yeah, he's telling France. That's like the checky shit you do. Hey, he's telling the French leader. He ain't telling the French leader shit. He ain't telling them a damn thing.
Probably control opposition. It's probably controlled the opposition to try and make it seem as if Ghana is not going to bed with our friends in Europe. But in real sense, there's a continuing looting of the resources. Like I said, if you go to West African nations such as Nigeria, there is uranium, lots and lots of uranium. If you go to Chad, Chad has a lot of oil. And the thing is, Chad, I think, has been labeled as number 9 in terms of poverty in the world, while they have a lot of oil. And you wonder...
Because that leader was there 30 years. He was one of the, it's like Kenyatta. He's one of the richest African leaders. Because the French put up their puppets, who are fucking despicable human beings. Like the worst of the African, the most despicable bats. Like your Paul Bear. You can see your own people living in abject poverty. As long as you and your family okay, you're good with it. They're the most despicable motherfuckers there are. That's why they're going to get rid of Paul Bear pretty soon. They don't want, they want Cameroon to go to his son or his family members to switch it over, like they've been doing in Chad. The people are uprising, supposedly.
Yeah.
And so you have France also destabilized. It's not just France. It's all of Europe destabilized in Nigeria. You're scared of Nigeria because Nigeria's if Nigeria ever united, got its shit together, it can start dominating the globe. And that's a no-no. Nigeria is too much of a basket case. And it's not just France, it's France, England, China, all destabilizing Nigeria. All of them.
But also...
go ahead, Spike.
I'm saying also the excuse. There has been a lot of excuse for the West African countries because most of them are dry. But I think they could also borrow a leaf from Egypt and Israel. Egypt only has the River Nile. Most of these countries also do have the River Niger. The River Niger crosses, I think, about 5 countries in West.
And because it's dry, Spike. Spike, you gotta look at Spike. If you don't understand racism, everything will confuse you. They allowed Egypt to develop because that's their white Arab cousin. That's the crackers' cousins. They're not meant to be on the bottom. Those countries are richer than Egypt as far as Egypt don't have any resources. And all the antiquities are stolen. They are in Europe. All the African antiquity got to do with the damn dirty Arab in there now. That's all African. Even though they try, well, we believe it's not African, it's Arab and white. Fuck out of here. That's all the treasures are in Europe, either in the Louvre in France, British Museum, German Museum, and now we stole all that. But all those parts of West Africa are richer than Egypt, or fucking all the Arab states are from fucking Morocco, Algeria. There's nothing there, but they're gonna get better loans and better treatment because everybody, you understand, it's racial. The Africans are supposed to be slaves, supposed to be kept on the bottom ever since they've been conquered, Spike. You go back 500 years ago, everything was reversed. African was on top. There was no fucking rich Arab. They were dirty herdsmen. For the white ones, the Turks. But no rich European. Europe was fucked up and impoverished and full of damn disease. That's just 500 years ago, Spike.
Yeah, it's not so
but
far.
Africa was rich. Yeah. That's why the knowing of history is so important. And say, listen here. We needed to unite. These borders, the youth are finally saying, I told you, the youth said these borders are stupid. These borders were created to make sure Africa stayed poor. With these fake ass countries, these fake ass Cameroonians. That's why I don't say, Kenyan, Cameroonian, fucking South Africa. You're an African. Them shits are made up by crackers. You're Nigerian. Fuck all that. You're a Ghanaian. No such thing. But if you're a Ghanaian, why can't I go back in time 160 years ago and say, hey, I'm a Ghanaian? They say, what the fuck is African? Would ask you, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a Cote d'Ivoirian from the Ivory Coast. Huh? What are you talking about? An African wouldn't know what the hell you were talking about just 200 years ago. You're like, what are you talking about? There's no such thing. Well, you don't know African. You're going to be cocky, and we're going to make these names up. And you're going to accept what other people have named you. You're going to accept the shit.
Chad, they say was named after a lake, and I see Mali Timbuktu was named after a well. And I think most of these names in West Africa comes from anything that has to do with the water, because some of the areas are really tough and dry. But I think this is also the only problem is that most of us, I think all of the leaders are actually just puppet leaders, and therefore they will actually just be divided. And
it's fine. They're put in by they're put in by France. It's like all leaders in Africa are puppets. You don't got your last leader died was Magufuli. You don't have any leader. You have no leadership in Africa. Just like we have no leadership in America. Look, think of it like this, Spike. If you're black, anywhere calling yourself a leader, they're not the leader. They're puppets. Like anywhere on the Caribbean island, either it's French back or English back or Dutch back. Like Jamaica. Jamaica's still controlled by the British. Like they never got those Africans never got independence in no fucking Jamaica. That's why the Queen's the head of the country. Like you got independence and the Queen of England is the head of the country.
That's a commonwealth. Even in they were mourning last week when Prince, who was the name of this prince that died? Was it when
Prince
the prince died?
Prince Philip.
Yeah, Prince Philip. They were mourning. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't go to work. The prince just died, and everyone was busy crying.
But they all said that, Spike. Look at that. This dude was a vicious, open. He didn't hide the race. Open, vicious racism. Talking about how we lose our colony. Motherfucker, they were never yours to begin with. You had a momentary military victory over African people who were disjointed. That's why colonialism didn't last long. They can never physically keep Africa. Not with no fucking open warfare. They never have been able to. But now when they installed their family puppets. And so they've been controlling the country through that, and the religion. The religion has been devastating on us as a people. And I'm glad finally some people understand that. Shout out to you, Dr. But I've been telling you that. The religion of Christian insanity, the lie, has been devastating on African people globally.
For West Africa, it's the Islamic religion. Yeah, for the West African countries is the Islamic religion. It's the Muhammad and everything else.
It's Christianity too.
Yeah. But I'm saying for those most of the West African countries like Chad actually speaks Arabic and French. Those are the main countries Arabic and French.
I wouldn't call Chad West Africa. I'm called Chad Central Africa. Chad is just two borders away from Kenya. You go from Uganda from Kenya to Uganda straight to Chad.
Yeah, they can go to Sudan, but it's wrapped up in the politics of West Africa because it also borders Nigeria and Cameroon. So it's there. It's also caught up in that particular kind of a situation. But I think the thing is also they have a lot of tribalism. I understand they have 200 communities in Chad as well.
Who created all these fake tribes? We gotta go back. You gotta go back and even reverse it. The Europeans came in and made fake tribes too. When I go back, I said, "Damn, this European is wicked. He's brilliantly evil. He's so fucking evil." Even though we had tribes, they came in and made more tribes, right? They made more tribes.
To divide and rule.
More division. To divide and rule. It worked exactly. They came and made more goofy tribes. And the Africa, like when I told you, like when I was studying Shona, right? With Rumbi being a Shona tribe is made up by the British. It's a non-existent tribe. Never existed in history. Made up. I can't tell Rumbi that. That's made up. It's a fact. All these other tribes they made up through Africa to make sure they keep division.
But I think
because Africans been made ignorant. So it's like.
But I'm saying I think like you also people did disintegrate as the Kemet was also people who actually just live in Kemet and disintegrating into small groups. I think that also did play a part when we were coming down. I think it also has a thing to do with the people disintegrating into small groups after small fights. I believe in Kemet when
small groups. Small groups and really going. Small groups and going to sleep. You're ignorant. You see yourself as different people because you're ignorant. Ignorance, and that's what the African shaman, when I'm on the African shaman said, we went to sleep. I knew it. We said, the ignorance, and then we were given a layer of poverty, which Africans never had. Africans were never impoverished. I said, and like I said, the hand-to-mouth, conditions, living hand-to-mouth. Africans never were impoverished. So in this wicked ass European monetary system, globally, the African has been impoverished because it's a racial pyramid scheme along with it. White on the top, all other races in the middle, and black on the bottom. Globally. And so, since the Africans refused, because it's humanity, to develop militarily, he's lost. He gets secondhand weapons. They put fake wars in these countries to keep them unstable so they can keep stealing resources out the Central Republic of Africa, out of Chad, out of whatever. They're always caught with destabilized. So the Africans that live in these regions are always living in misery, along with poverty, misery. It's just fucked up. And until you get one African strongman says enough is enough.
I think also.
Good. Good, Spike.
No, I think also it got to a point where there was the introduction of some sort of a scarcity mentality. I think before we did have, and now people started regrouping or going into disintegrating into small groups so that they can actually mass or cover some areas. But I think perhaps maybe 500 years ago there wasn't this particular kind of a scarcity mentality where now people have to reorganize and regroup.
That's what exactly right. That's what the destruction of black civilization talks about. How the African descended into even smaller and smaller and smaller groups, but he could now defend Africa. Remember, I keep telling you, Africa can never be conquered. That's why it just recently got conquered. It's not that the European and the Asians didn't want Africa thousands of years ago. Africa was too united. You couldn't conquer it. You couldn't conquer Africa. Africa's always been wealthy. Isn't that, do you think Mansa Musa the only wealthy one walking around with all this gold and shit?
Wasn't the only people were also in a good position, and that was around 1320? I know I was in the
about 1320. But the African was known as the richest person on the planet.
Yeah.
Wasn't no African impoverished. And then the African always had what? Food, like, because he sits on the most arable land. The Africans got the most resources, the most food production, and yet he's in poverty. That's why you got to be able to think, but what happened to us, damn it? What happened? Something happened to the African mind. Because what happened to us? And then we got some unpleasant things that we got to address. The African's been made a coward. He's been turned into a coward.
And I'm saying we are still asleep as well, but I'm hoping gradually we get to wake up, because some of these things are really hard to understand from the physical perspective. Really getting to figure out why there was also the psychological division of other people. Nonetheless, family, almost on up. Ansankinon is asking, how the hell is Kid doing at this up at this hour? I think Ansankinon likes to call it the ungodly hour. You might have liked to call it the ungodly hour. Anyway, we are excited that you have.
I'm up. I was supposed to be up earlier. I messed up. I did the show. Hold on, Mike. I did the show last night, late last night. I was supposed to turn the radio station over, and I didn't turn it over. Yeah, I was going to turn the radio station over to Spike. I don't know. You're not doing any more other shows today, are you, Spike?
Also,
except for the Africa Day show.
I might do the Express show, but I'm not sure.
I know
the Express show, but nonetheless, I will check. Let me get back to you once I finish up with this one. See if I will get ready for the other one or the Africa Today show. But also the family, if you haven't, Kid, are you able to share with us the link? Maybe if anyone has not joined us on the WhatsApp, please, Kid has been sharing. I think you can check the link on the last description box.
The link. Amazon. Yeah. I shared the link inside the chat room yesterday. Go inside yesterday's program last night. Go in the chat room, and hit that link, or go to yesterday's. No, just day before program in the comment section and hit the link, and that'll put you into the Black Out Network WhatsApp group, and you'll know when I'm going live. That's why people knew when I went live yesterday. I could have typed him going live. If he did, I was asleep. That you're going live.
We might be doing the notifications really early for the Africa Today. I will also put the notifications for the Africa Today later on in the evening. But I want to thank everyone that has joined the WhatsApp so far. Who did I see on there? I saw some of the family on there. I'm not really, I can't remember everyone that I saw on.
Samuel's on there. Sam's on there. Most people on there. So they got no excuse. Yeah. Sam's on there. Samuel.
Oh, okay. I think some already.
Samuel was one who. Samuel was the one who posted that damn. Sam was the one who posted that damn Simpsons cartoon about the vaccine peeling your skin off.
Someone also put up some meme of the Gooding Junior. Good in Junior getting taken to jail. But anyhow, family, we are winding up. And I want to thank everyone that has joined us on the Africa Today show. I hope that you can also be part and parcel of the solutions. As we discuss some matters that have to do with Africa, please make sure that you also drop in your thoughts on some of the solutions maybe that we can get to use when it comes to addressing the problems that we do have on the continent of Africa and other problems that we are facing globally. Till then, much peace and love. I want to say kwaheri.